I swear my microphones are now haunted. Because their last wigs died, they've decided they too must die and cause me all the problems. I don't know why this has been working for me, kind of coming back at the end to start one of these videos, but it has been working. And if it ain't broke, you know what they say. So we are going to read some books and we're really gonna like them. I went into this reading a couple of spooky books, some straight up horror that I was highly anticipating, some horror thrillers where we might eat some people, and a dark fairy tale just to tie things up with a great big bow. The first book that we're going to be picking up is one of my most anticipated reads of this year because I previously really liked the first book that this author put out. Their debut creeped me the hell out. So we're gonna read The Caretaker. Honestly, I know this author is really good at freaking me out, so I don't even need to know what this is about in order to pick it up. Let's read some books. We are halfway through The Caretaker, and I'm pretty sure I'm having a great time. We opened this book with I don't think it was called an epilogue, but we'll call it an epilogue for the sake of I was listening to it and I forgot to remember exactly what I was listening to. Oh my God, girl. First clip. It's editing Mrs. Pizza, and I can't believe I have to do this on the first clip. I swear I've read a book before in my life. A epilogue comes at the end of a book. A prologue comes at the beginning of the book. And I am... I swear. I know, the girl was having a day or something, all right? Please forgive me. Hold my hand. We'll get through this together. We open this with a story of a man who is performing some sort of rituals on his own land involving visitors. He encounters a visitor that resembles someone he knows. This all seems like there's a lot of supernatural shenanigans around it, but there's not a lot of answered questions. We then jump to our main character, Macy, who is a young woman who is the guardian for her 17-year-old sister after her father passed away like several years prior. I think it's like 3 years prior. And they are in financial trouble. Macy has not been able to hold down a job that has enough of a paycheck to support her and her sister. They're living in a very small studio apartment. It sounds like her sister is also struggling with a few things. She's young and Macy is trying her best to scrape by when she sees an ad for someone wanted to be a caretaker. Now, when Macy travels out to this home that this caretaking position would take place at, it's pretty far away from where she lives in a very ritzy and wealthy, secluded area. When she gets there, she finds out that this position is not actually what it was advertised to be. She's given a videotape, and when she accepts this position, because let's be honest, she has to. It's paying way too much money for her to possibly say no. They've got rent to make, bills to pay, and so Macy takes this videotape, which includes a recording with some really weird and ominous rules for being in the house that she is going to be working in. She's going to take this job for like an extended weekend. I think it's like a 3-day period, and she has to follow these very strange rules to the T. Now that I am at the halfway point, some weird stuff has happened, but nothing that can't be explained away as rational things like faulty wiring. We know from how Macy is reacting to things that everything feels off. Everything feels scary and everything just feels creepy. And so I am with Macy totally wondering what the heck is going on. Not to mention, Macy's inner voice is often the voice of her 17-year-old sister yelling at her like the reader would be yelling at her. Like, girl, what are you doing? Run, run, run. Her 17-year-old sister's voice pops in her head and like screams these things at her, which is really refreshing because it's kind of like the thoughts you have, where Macy is able to address them based on what's happening and what's going on through her head by answering her internal voice that is her sister. I have some thoughts and theories about certain things that are going on, things that I think we are being shown just enough so we don't question it. I'm interested to see. After really liking this author's first published book, this is similar, where you are in a house going, what the f is going on here, and it totally creeps you out. I also picked up some books from the library today. I need a physical book to be reading, and let's see, I think they're right here. I think the one that I am going to pick up is going to be Strange Buildings. This is the third book from the author that brought us Strange Pictures and Strange Houses. Though this is a little bit thicker than those, it's not bad. And usually these books contain a lot of illustrations, a very, very quick read. I have literally no idea what this is about, but enjoyed both other books enough that I wanted to keep seeing what this author's brain could bring us. It's not so much that the stories the author comes up with are reinventing the wheel, it's more how the stories are told that are so interesting. A lonely hut in the woods, a murder house, a hidden chamber, a mysterious shrine, a home in flames, a nightmarish prison. After receiving multiple tips from his devoted readership, a writer fascinated by the occult puts together 11 cases, each featuring its own very strange building. Sure, absolutely. I'm assuming we're gonna have floor plans and pictures again. I think this is what I'm gonna pick up next. The other two, I think I'm gonna hold off on until I finish that one. We've got What We Are Seeking, which is on the planet Scythia, plants give birth to insects and trees can drag you to your death. Artificial monsters stalk the desert and alien basket men have wandered into town. John has been abandoned here, light years from a peaceful forest that he loves. He must find some way to make life here, but on Scythia, survival means transformation, and not everyone is willing to change. Sure, sci-fi creepiness. And Nothing Tastes as Good. This, I'm pretty sure, is a thriller with some cannibalism. Retail worker Emmett Truesdale has never fit the Southern California mold of six-pack, sun-kissed masculinity. At over 300 pounds, he carries the weight of his childhood trauma and millennium ennui? Oh my God. I've only ever seen this word written, and now I have to say it. Please judge me for my lack of vocabulary skills.
Ennui.
Ennui. Ennui. And millennial ennui about his waist and his soul. After trying every diet under the sun, he remains stuck in his dead-end job, in love, and in his body. Desperate for help, he enrolls in a clinical trial for a revolutionary weight loss product called Obexity. The treatment is as terrifying as the results are miraculous, and as Emmett sheds pounds at superhuman speed, every bit of his life improves overnight. Unfortunately, Obexity comes with some killer side effects, including overwhelming cravings. Worse, people who were cruel to him have started disappearing. He fears that Obexity is turning him into a monster. So someone that might accidentally be a cannibal. I have said this before and I'll say it again. Whoever fills out my library requests, like puts my name in them and puts them on the little shelf for me to pick up, I'm pretty sure they're judging me. And they should. Or maybe they're excited that I found such a wide variety of strange books to read. All right, we are about halfway through Strange Buildings. And yet again, I'm liking what I'm reading from this author. I think I figured out that the author of the books is some like imaginary character that is in every single book. And the fact that I've gotten to the third book to figure out that our author is the same person is a little sad. He is talking about how after he produced the books, Strange Pictures and Strange Houses, a lot of people reached out to him and were like, hey, you're into some freaky weird how about hearing about some of our weird stuff that we've all experienced when it comes to weird houses? So we open this book with the author telling us that these stories are interrelated. Like we are supposed to be figuring out that they're all related to each other somehow, but then we start telling the stories and they don't seem the least bit related in the very beginning. The first story is kind of the most tame, but it's the story of a woman coming to our author and telling him about her childhood home and how it always felt off, showing him the floor plans. There's lots of pictures and floor plans and diagrams in here. We then get a story of a house where a murder took place. We get a story of a man living in a house and he just feels like something's off about his floor plan, and he found out on some site that there was some sort of crime that was committed where he lives. As the stories go along, you start picking up pieces of how they're all related, but I don't necessarily think you can actually figure out what's going on until the very end, because you are drip fed more information with each each story you're told, and then told how to look at things differently when each story is presented. So I don't try and figure out what's going on. I do try and pick up the pieces. You're seeing a few similarities. There's a few names or a few locations that start popping up over and over again in different ways. And then all of a sudden we start talking about a cult. At the halfway point, we start talking about a cult, and I was like, okay, this is much different than I thought it was going to be. So far, I'm having a lot of fun. If you like the other two books, you'll like this one. I like that there are pictures to look at so you can wrap your head around visually, but the writing is more of a conversation. It's a more dialogue between the author and whoever he's talking to, going back and forth, talking about what they think is going on with these houses or these pictures or these histories of these places. It kind of would lend itself well to an audiobook you're listening to while looking at the pictures provided. I think I'm gonna really like this one. Hi, meet my Winnie. Winnie has never met personal space. Jesus here too. Did you just eat some of my hair? No thanks. I love you though, but no thanks. That's for me. That's my heating pad. Leave me alone. I am unwell. You know, I'll be strong. To come and tell you that I finished Strange Buildings, and I liked this. I knew I was probably going to like this. I think this is my favorite of the 3 books from this author that I have now read. If you've read the other books, you know what you're in for. I liked the reveal in this. I liked the little twist at the end. Like I probably previously said, I don't believe these are actually mysteries that you can figure out. And at the end, there is a aspect of this where we are revisiting every single story that we've had, tying everything in a great big bow. All of the information that's been gathered is like listed so you can go through it together with our narrator and a friend of his that shows up in every book to help him solve these interesting architectural mysteries that keep happening. This was exactly what I thought I was getting. I'm glad I read it. I read it pretty fast, and that means that I need to pick up a new book. And since I don't feel fantastic right now, and there is no excuse because I don't feel like watching anything on television, I'm going to pick up a book. I'm going to pick up a book and I'm going to tell you about it. I've only got about 2 hours left in the audiobook for The Caretaker. I'm still really liking that. It's still really creeping me out. And it's time. It's time to pick another book, Winnie. I'll let you know what I decide to pick up. How about that? Your girl is struggling. In case you're wondering, I am your girl, and I currently feel the struggle. In good news, I started a book. I actually started 2 books. I also just finished a popsicle, so if I have red teeth, I've been consuming strawberry popsicles. It's nothing gory like that. I think the reason that pops into my head is because I started Nothing Tastes as Good. In this book, we are following our main character, Emmett, who is a heavyset young man. I believe he weighs like 323 pounds, and he has a horribly fat-phobic inner monologue. He just really has incredibly bad self-esteem. A lot of his stress in life is wrapped up in his size, how he's eating, but he definitely has some sort of binge eating disorder. He even mentions it in this book, but he is definitely in a situation where his size is really a constant daily, every minute, every second struggle for him because of how people in the world interact with him. There's a lot of people having some horrible microaggressions to this man. He goes up for a job and the person kind of shames him for his size. Poor Emmett is going through it, and the main problem in his eyes in his life is his size. And so he one day is like scrolling through Instagram or something like that, sees an ad for a new medical study. They're looking for people to participate with this weight loss drug. Emmett goes, learns about this, signs up, gets this opportunity to be in this clinical trial. We know from the very beginning, the very first thing that you read is the prologue, and it's gory as hell. Very, very gory. And then the next thing you read is from the Monstera Bioscience. So this is the company that is running the clinical trial, and they're talking about how one of the test subjects had a very strange reaction to being on this drug, and they're hiring this secondary company to run this research because they don't think that this person's aggression and cravings for human flesh for cannibalism was caused by their medication. They want to prove that this is not a side effect, that this was like a mental illness that was already present in the person in the trial that had these cannibalistic side effects. This is kind of mixed media and that you're getting Emmett's story, but you're also getting interviews that are taking place between this investigator and different people around Emmett. You're reading Emmett's blog posts from before he was in this clinical trial, but you're also getting the story of what's going on with Emmett. This is definitely about Emmett having an eating disorder, but because he's not anorexic, he can't seem to find, and it doesn't seem available, that there is any real help for him in his binge eating disorder and this disorder he has around eating. And so he turns to these nefarious, maybe bad, maybe evil drug company to get this miracle fix because he thinks his life will be better if he is thin. He has people around him that support him. He has some people around him that just are dealing out the microaggressions like nobody's business. We know this is going to turn from literally like the third page. You know, this is not even. You know from the first thing you read, the prologue, that this is going to turn into cannibalism, that this drug is going to have some sort of effect on, we're assuming, Emmett that turns him into a cannibal. This is very interesting in that we are being led down this path knowing it's leading to cannibalism. But sometimes it is a little hard to read like the way that Emmett feels about himself. It is really hard to hear someone talk about themselves like that and to hear about all the things he's had to deal with in his past. Right now on page, where am I? I'm at like page 116 and we're getting a little backstory of where the emotional trauma backstory of why he has disordered eating, where this comes from, and some of the highlights of the trauma in his childhood. And though nothing has been like excessive, it's still been really hard to read. And so I'm enjoying this. I have a feeling it's going to go absolutely bananas, but it's also it's a super quick read. So I don't anticipate this taking me very long. I did also start another book, but I think this is the one that I'm going to stick with for right now. And I am also gotten further into The Caretaker, but I still haven't finished it. So I'll let you know when I finish it. How about that? Not only did we finish a book, but it is currently time to do our nails again. I think today that we are going to do, what is it called? It's called Spicy. It's red. It's spring, you know? I don't know what that has to do with colors, but the real reason that I wanted to talk to you is because I accidentally finished a book without telling you about it. I think I mentioned that I was going to talk about it, but I'm going to be real honest. Get ready for my brutal honesty. I have not been feeling good. So I know what's going on. My doctor knows what's going on, but I just have to suffer for 6 weeks. It's not like I'm dying. Let's not blow it out of proportion. I just don't feel great. And so I just haven't felt like getting in front of a camera and chit-chatting. I have been feeling like reading though, which is why I started and finished this book. This I picked up, I think it was originally marketed as like a dark fantasy, which it is, in a sense. This is much more like dark fairy tale fantasy is how I would put it. There's also multiple covers for this book. This cover is much more the tone than the other cover I saw. The other cover I do not think fits the tone at all. This one, which I hope you can see it and it's not just a complete and total blur, fits it, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, a little bit more. I would say this is a fairy tale-like fantasy that starts off in the spring with flowers in our youth, and we have a character named Rory. He is a young child. I believe he's like 10, if not more years younger than his older sister. Both of these children live alone in the countryside. Their parents, I believe, are divorced and live their own lives, and neither one of them wanted responsibility of their children. They're obviously great people. So they kind of just left their two children out here in this home on this land, very secluded. There's a tutor that comes to teach them. There's a housekeeper that makes sure that they're fed and the house is kept clean. But otherwise, Rory, for the most part, is left to his own devices. His sister is old enough in the beginning of the story that she just doesn't feel like playing with Rory anymore. He's around 8 years old. His sister is 16. So there's like an 8-year difference, I think. I might not be getting their ages perfectly right, but there is a big enough age difference where now his sister doesn't want to play anymore. She doesn't want to play silly little kid games. She's into her own stuff. So one day, Rory will not leave her alone. He's just pestering, following, please play with me, please play with me. So his sister makes him a friend using magic. It is a flower girl. There is a name that is used for it, and I will put it up on the screen because I will butcher it. Actually, let's figure out how to say it. Where's my phone? Let's learn together.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced words in the world. Welsh pronunciation.
Julian, come on.
Blodeuwedd.
Blodeuwedd?
Blodeuwedd.
Blodeuwedd.
If you're looking to learn how to pronounce this word correctly, keep watching this video. Blodeuwedd.
Blodeuwedd.
Let's practice together.
According to
Blodeuwedd.
multiple... It's a Welsh word, so let's find out the Welsh. Okay, so according to the internet, there's 1,000 ways to pronounce this word. But basically, his sister takes a bunch of flowers, natural elements, twigs and sticks and berries, and creates Rory a friend. A friend that is the exact same size and age as him, a perfect playmate. And so we then follow Rory and his new playmate, who he dubs Day, and they grow up together. Absolutely grow up together. Now, the two perspectives we have are Rory and Day. And like I said, we start in the spring. We start in their childhood where everything is innocence and play, and you're my best friend, and I love you. But at the end of the spring, when summer starts, Day starts to deteriorate. And this is wholly traumatic for Rory, right? He is a young boy watching his absolute best friend who, after she is made, she looks like a regular person. You cannot tell she is made of flowers and nature. She looks and presents as a person. It is only when she starts to deteriorate that you start to be able to see the elements that make her up. And so she falls apart in front of Rory, and he runs to his sister, absolutely just devastated. And his sister puts Day back together, which starts a cycle that continues throughout their life. Rory becomes obsessed with Day falling apart, with Day leaving him, with Day no longer being around. And Day is trapped in this cycle of being rebuilt to be Rory's best friend. Like I said, this starts off beautiful and lyrical, and we're best friends, hold hands, let's go swimming, magical childhood memories. But as the story progresses, as we go through the years of this cycle with Rory and Day, how their relationship changes over time, the edges of this story become darker and darker and darker. And because we're getting both characters' perspectives throughout the years, we understand their motivations, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. And you start to see how dark this relationship is becoming. And that is what this story is. It's not, even though this is taking place in a fantasy world, we are not exploring a whole lot of that world. We don't even necessarily get a whole lot of the magic system. We get like little glimpses into it every once in a while. There is some sort of magical school that exists. So magic exists in this world, but I couldn't even really get a handle on what this world was. It's obviously a fantasy world, but time-wise, I couldn't figure out, but maybe that's because magic exists. So the progression of like invention throughout time doesn't really exist. They still ride trains. They talk on telephones, but there's no such thing as televisions, at least anything I've seen. So I kept thinking this was probably taking place technologically wise sometime between like, I would say like early 1900s, right? Before the 1950s is how I would put it. But we follow Rory and Day, and this gets sad and dark, but never like over the top horror or anything like that. It's just that this relationship becomes darker and darker and darker as time goes on and as they age in this strange situation that Day and Rory are in. I finished it. So let's do our nails. You probably can't hear that, but Winnie is chugging water in the other room. Let's wait till she's done. I finished The Caretaker and I had an absolutely great time. Like, I really, really enjoyed this. I enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed this author's first book, which is, I don't even think I've mentioned it in this vlog, We Used to Live Here. The Caretaker is creepy and dark, and the ending will leave you going, what the actual like, oh my God. It's creepy and spooky and dark and leaves you confused and anxious and creeped out the entire time you are reading this. I enjoyed the audiobook version of this. I think at this point, I'm gonna pick up anything this author puts out. Their creepy works for me. We get answers-ish, but I think the thing I like the most about these authors' books is there is no moment of true exposition dump. You don't ever get all of the answers, which makes it even creepier. Like, the lore will never truly be explained. Doesn't have to be, to freak me the hell out. I also ended up finishing this book. Oh my God, I could picture the donut on the cover. I actually dropped it off at the library this morning. That's why I cannot hold up the copy to show you. But I ended up giving this, I think, 3 stars. I mean, this is a dark comedy, and it has some gross out moments, and it has some moments that make you ponder and think. And poor Emmett is going through it, but Emmett isn't a perfect person, and I don't think he has to be for the role he's playing in this story. I think the twist was fine. I feel like it was a little convenient, but that's okay. The end of the book, when things start escalating, when we're starting to get reveals about what's going on, what's happening to Emmett, what's going on with this company that owns this weight loss drug, that was all fine for me. I think that Emmett can be a lot as far as personalities can go with his blog posts and his Instagram posts and stuff like that. It's a very like tongue-in-cheek kind of way that he talks about his weight loss. He is trying to succeed at social media along with his weight loss journey. He's trying to gain followers, become popular, become a micro influencer with his weight loss journey. And that becomes a big part of the validation he gets from these absolute strangers about his physical appearance. He thinks that changing his physical appearance is going to change his life for the better in every way, shape, or form. But all of the old hang-ups, all the old mental blocks are still there, even if you're skinny, going through that with Emmett. But this is like a dark comedy. So like there's so much unseriousness. His best friend, I feel like, was almost too okay. With a lot of the stuff that was going on. I get she's a ride or die, like I understand that, but she was just a little too okay. And there's something that happens in the later part of the book. I don't really want to give a spoiler for it, but just like when you get to the later half of the book, there's some stuff that starts happening that you can't fully say is the drugs influence, but yet we're supposed to take it as it was the drugs influence. I don't know. This was fine. This was absolutely fine. There were some parts of it I really liked and some parts of it that were just okay for me, but I'm not sad that I read it. But that means that we have to go over there. Hold on. That, kids, is where we are going to end this video. I hope you had fun hanging out with me while I read some fun, spooky, scary, creepy stuff. I am actually pretty impressed I was able to read as much as I was, feeling the way I have during the duration of this. But, you know, reading is one of my favorite things. So I'm glad I made it work. But if you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are, and I'd love to hear about them. And I'll see you next time.